Hello and welcome to Happy Horror Time. My name is Tim Murdoch.
And my name is Matt Emmert. Today's special guest has no problem being called a weirdo. In fact, he celebrates it. His incredible designs under the brand Small Town Weirdo have become quite popular among horror stars, promoting inclusion and celebrating what it means to be a final girl, a final boy, or even a final queer. He's an actor himself, having starred on the TV series East Siders, as well as horror films like That's a Wrap and the upcoming Brute 1976. And if that's not enough to keep him busy, he also started a production company called Molecule Productions with his husband, fellow actor Adam Bucci, to create content featuring LGBTQ plus storylines across a wide range of genres. We're so excited to welcome to the podcast Adam Bucci.
Hey, hi guys.
How's it going?
Good. Thanks for that intro. I feel like that should be my voicemail.
Did we cover everything? We tried to cover everything.
No, it makes me feel like I actually am doing something.
You are.
Thank you.
You're doing a ton. You know,
No, I'm kidding.
we always take it back to the beginning, and we read, because you can always read everything on like IMDb, Wikipedia, blah, blah, blah. We read that you were born on an army base in Kentucky, but then grew up in New Jersey and came from a family where one side had like an extensive military background and the other side covered the arts. So what was it like growing up with that kind of family background? And when did you first become interested in acting?
Yeah, so my dad was in the army, and he retired as a colonel in the army a few years ago. And my mom's side was all musicians and artists. And like my great grandmother, who I never met, she was a brilliant artist. And I remember growing up looking at her sketches that my grandma had of hers. And my great grandfather was a piano teacher and a composer. So I grew up, I did meet him, but I was so young, but he had, sheet music I could look at, and I heard his song on the piano. And on the other side, my dad, we're going to West Point for reunion trips and like, army gatherings where Santa Claus is this really janky, like army guy in a hat, like weird Christmas parties with the army. And then like, so I grew up in both those worlds, but I would say I really started my artistic creative kind of path with just visual art. I always was drawing and always drawing on something, a paper plate, a placemat at a restaurant. And it really wasn't until high school that I got bit by that acting bug when I did my first musical and got into the chorus and all that stuff. And I was really shy, so it took a lot for me to kind of get myself to that point to be able to like do something in front of people on a stage. But
What was the musical?
Well, Grease was my first musical. But
Who did you play?
I was a freshman, so I was like, kid in the back in the jean jacket, but it was my junior year that I got the lead. It was Pippin, and Pippin
Wow.
That's when like I really was like, I want to do this. I want to go to college for this. So I was doing an art major program in high school to kind of prep for art school. But at the same time, I was like really focusing on theater. And I ultimately decided to go to school for theater and study theater because that felt like a true passion where the visual art was like a hobby. And I always said I never wanted to be forced to create something visually because it's so taxing. So I was like, let me do it on my own time. So I wanted to go to school and perform. And it also brought out a confidence in me that I didn't have just growing up. So that was like, it felt like an addiction, like a drug, like that rush to performing. So
You're in like-minded company because we were theater nerds. Like we both were in theater through high school.
I mean, but we did Bye Bye Birdie. We didn't do Cool Grease.
We did Little Shop of Horrors.
I didn't do that. So I feel like that equates Grease. It's that doo-wop fun show,
Yes.
Yeah.
And growing up, were horror films on your radar? Like, was there one particular film that had an impact on you?
My earliest memory, like, again, I was like I called myself a cool loser growing up because everyone even from kindergarten up through high school, like people wanted to be my friend in school and like they were nice to me, but no one wanted to hang out with me after school. So like I like my mom was always confused why I had no friends, but like because I was liked in school and the teachers loved me, but like then it was like no one wanted to call me and hang out. So I always was a loner after school. So I think in like elementary school, middle school is when probably elementary school is when I would have my mom like driving to the Blockbuster after Remember Blockbuster Kids?
Oh yeah, are you kidding?
Yeah, and I remember my earliest memory of like wanting to rent something kind of dark was this movie called Alive, where like the plane crash victims, true story, where they like ate each other on the mountain in the snow. And I mean, that wasn't a horror movie, but it was horrific.
Yeah.
But like my mom let me rent that. I was definitely younger than sixth grade because sixth grade is when I saw Scream, and that's really what kicked off like the horror love stuff. You know, like middle school was.
Did your friends go with you to Scream, or did you have to go all by yourself?
Well, my mom wouldn't let me go. I'm gonna start to. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, I
my
know.
mom.
I know. Way to put salt in the wound,
Well,
Tim.
he just told us.
Hey, loner.
Hey, he just told us. He just said.
No,
Did you go by yourself?
My
Just
first
scream
movie
alone.
I went to, the first movie I went to by myself around that same time was Twister. No,
Yeah.
with a friend. Like a friend actually went with me to the movies. That was like a big deal. And then my mom didn't let me see Scream in theaters, but I also wasn't pushing it because I didn't really know. I didn't see it yet, so I didn't even know yet what I wanted to see. But when I actually saw Scream, and I honestly don't remember the first time I saw it because I've seen it so many times that I really don't remember that first time. I remember all the other ones, but I definitely didn't see it in the theater. But I was hooked when I did see it. I remember the previews. And when Neve Campbell took off her shirt and her bra showed, that's when my mom was like, "You're not going to the theater to see this." Even, you know what I mean? She saw like a sex scene.
Even though you
Yeah.
don't see anything.
So
No, and you don't see anything, but like
You
just you could. It wasn't the violence. It was like her taking her shirt off in the trailer. That like
I
my
find
mom's like,
that
"Nope."
so interesting that parents are like, you can watch someone get like an axe in their head, but if there's any kind of nudity or any kind of sex, they're like, no.
We have talked about that, and it's funny. I even brought. I'm just going to bring my family into this. No,
Don't
I have
do
I
it.
have a 9.5-year-old nephew who loves horror. He takes after his uncle Matt, and my sister and brother-in-law are really easygoing with like him seeing violence, but anything sex, nudity, it's like he can't see. And I kind of brought that up. I'm like, but sex and nudity is natural.
No,
but they brought
I
up a
get
good
it.
point.
I
They brought
wouldn't
up a
have been
good
able to
point.
handle it.
They're like, well, yeah, but these are like he's probably not going to be in a situation where he's grabbing weapons, murdering people with axes, doing that kind of stuff. But like sex stuff, you know, like he may be in situations that may be confusing. We don't want him to get the wrong idea. So it's more like he can
Right.
understand that violence is over the top and bad and crazy, but like sex could be very confusing and stuff. It's still a little bit weird for me to understand.
still
but
confused.
I mean, Tim still doesn't know how
too.
babies are born. So
Every day I'm like, how's this work?
the stork. But so Scream, you would say, is kind of the big first impactful horror movie.
Yeah, I would say that started my like want to see more. And I think I Know What You Did Last Summer was the first movie that I tried to go see in the theaters with a friend, and my mom had to come with me because I couldn't get tickets. I wasn't old enough. So my mom sat in the theater with me. I Know What You Did Last Summer. That one I have more of a vivid memory of like sitting in. I was like in computer graphics room. I saw the trailer on the computer. Kids were talking about it, and I was able to like beg a friend to come see it with me, but my mom had to come with us. But I remember that process of wanting to see it and going into the theater, and like I was in the back row because it was so crowded. Like that was my first real memory of like in the theater seeing a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
But Scream started it all for me as far as like, oh, I like this. Like, yeah.
So before you starred in horror shorts or feature films, you were on the Daytime Emmy-nominated LGBTQ plus series Eastsiders. What was that experience like? Like any memorable moments from working on that show?
Oh, yeah. I mean, looking back now, it's like, I don't think anyone really realized because it really like blossomed and grew into something that no one knew it would go to where it went and be nominated and stuff for the Emmys. But I was part of like a little web series called Steam Room Stories, and Eastsiders had just started, and Steam Room Stories was doing really well. And so, Kit and John had reached out to Kit and John are the creators of Eastsiders. They had reached out to JC Calciano, who created Steam Room Stories, and said, "Are there any actors on your show web series we could do a crossover with?" Just because we're trying to build an audience with some other from actors with other popular web series. And so he just gave them my name. Which I was honored, and I was in like one little episode of season 1, and then season 2 is when they brought me back, and I had like a full arc, like a really fun kind of storyline with the guys. So I don't think I realized how great it was until it was like done and out there, only because it got such great exposure, and it wound up being such a great pitching tool for my reps to tell people like, "Oh, Adam's a part of this series," or that it was on Netflix. And and people still, you know, will bring it up and recognize me from it, or yeah,
awesome.
I'm really honored to be a part of it. Yeah.
And what was Steam Room Stories about?
You have two gay men very interested in a series
like,
called
stop
Steam Room Stories.
I'm surprised you haven't caught it before.
I mean, I've seen the pictures, and of course, you know, they know how to appeal to gay men because it's like hot guys sitting in a steam room. But like, I know it's not porn, so I'm wondering, like, is it?
What happens
what happens? Tell us about what are the stories in the steam room.
They're not connected. They're all little short kind of comedic pieces that take place in a steam room and deal with all different topics. You know, very cheesy, you know, sexy, fun. And then the director of that also directed Is It Just Me, which my husband was in before I knew him. It was a popular gay rom-com. And then I was in 10-Year Plan, which he directed, and I was in that after I met my husband. And it was like a really small world. We all knew each other. But yeah, I was doing Steam Room Stories at that time, and I also didn't come out till I was 28. So when I started doing the series, even East Siders, I was like literally in my first year of coming out. And so it was very overwhelming for me to be a part of these projects that were not, I don't want to say very sexual, but like it was sexual and like
focused. Yeah.
Yeah. And the topics were things that I was still like, I was just literally just learning about. I'm still learning about. Like, I don't even, sometimes I'm like, I don't even know, you know, like if I'm a part of the community or not, because I'm still like, I feel like a baby in that world. So, yeah, it definitely was an interesting journey being a part of projects that were so gay, LGBTQ, you know, storyline wise. And I was like just coming out. So
like, what a great way to like immerse yourself in the community, you know, like being a part of those shows and probably learning as you're going, you know what I mean? But
yeah, it really was. And I think that's why I didn't appreciate the series until after, because I was kind of scared, and I didn't like, I remember some scenes in like a gay bar in East Siders, and even though it was a movie, like a TV set, they still had like, there were a lot of gay actors and drag queens and people that I recognized from certain TV shows and like reality shows. And I was like scared to talk to other people because I didn't know how to talk to anybody. Like I didn't, and I mean, we're all people, right? But I was scared. I didn't know how to like relate to other people in the community. So I think I was so conscious of that and didn't really soak in like the acting and the actor part of it and the actual like creative, you know, I was immersed in it and prepared, but I was also going through this other thing. So I was very conscious of that.
Everyone remembers their first time they walk into a gay bar.
I was just going to say, I remember, and I was terrified. And it's so funny because I think you have your own couple things, your own stereotypes, your own like internalized homophobia. I'm not trying to get all deep here, but like you have your own things that you have struggled with that you put on to others, and you just don't realize these are just other people. Like I know it sounds funny, but it's so obvious. But yeah, I remember being terrified walking to like thinking every bad stereotype, thinking, oh my God, like I can feel the anxiety.
The key word that you said, stereotype. Like I remember when I came out, like Will and Grace was like huge. And everyone's like, oh, I want you to be Jack, or they want you to be something.
Right.
I want you to go shopping with me.
Can I be your Grace?
Yeah, I'm like,
the amount of girls.
I don't like to shop. I'll go to the Gap, get a sweater, and I'm out. Like, I don't like to, I'm good.
The amount of times I was going to say, like, during Will and Grace, it's like, oh, you're gay? Like, oh, we could be best friends like Will and Grace.
Right.
No,
I mean, that's great. It's a funny show, but I can't do it.
You can't. Yeah.
Right. And I think that, like, I watched Will and Grace growing up, and my roommate in college was gay, and I you know, I had a girlfriend in college, and I think also 10 years later, even my husband, we realized like 10 years ago, we didn't know how to label ourselves, and gay was like, it was like, you're gay or you're not. Like, I didn't know what bisexual even meant. And so like looking back, like I probably was somewhere on the spectrum, didn't even know it because I, you know, was attracted to women, but I wasn't sure. And then, you know, I met my person now, my husband, but yeah, it was confusing. It was a confusing time. And Will and Grace was like the thing that you had back then to reference. And I wasn't like that. So I was like, well, I'm not gay then. So like, that was
I love that.
my radar.
All we
Only
have
Will, Grace, and Ellen.
in
If you're
our
not one of
society,
them,
yeah, we're like a
that's it.
sitcom.
That's all you
That's
got.
it.
Well,
Yeah.
before we dive into Small Town Weirdo, because we're definitely going to ask you about that, or even the feature films you've been in, we did want to talk about some of the horror shorts that you and your husband, Adam Huss, produced under Molecule Productions, because they're really cool. And the first one, it's called Strangers in the Night. We read that it premiered at Screamfest 2021, and it stars Huss, your husband, as a serial killer who's bored during COVID and brings home an unsuspecting hitchhiker who's played by you. But spoiler alert, you end up being a serial killer too. And I noticed that your husband was credited with writing the script, but since you both produced it, where did the idea for that story come from? Or do you know? I mean, I assume you know.
Yeah, I mean, during COVID, Adam really dove into writing more. And we had been working on, and we'll get to Let It Kill You, another thing we've been working on, that we've been developing for years. And it was taking so long to get things done that Adam during COVID just wanted to write something simple and one location that we can like bring our friends together and shoot like, cheap, no budget. And, yeah, I mean, we were in lockdown and we were bored and wanted to kill everybody. So I think, that is where the inspiration just came from, like just a horror comedy, something fun that we could put our stamp on while we were developing other projects, and also like locked in our apartments.
And where did you film it? It was beautiful.
We filmed in Running Springs, so it's like near Big Bear.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it looked like it was like foresty winter. Like the setting was beautiful. And so, since you've acted in other shorts with him, I've got to ask, what is it like acting alongside your husband? Because is it easier since you know him so well, or is it more difficult because you have to imagine him as someone else?
I would say the actual filming and like being in the moment of creating the project together, we really make a great team. Like we really, fill in the holes where the other person, is doing something else. And I think the most stressful and like, where you want to fight and like throw scripts at each other's head is like all the lead up. Like, that's the most stress, is like building it and being in close quarters in our 1-bedroom apartment and developing things. And because it's been about 10 years now that we've had our production company. So we were like writing and editing and bouncing ideas off each other for years. And there was a lot of script throwing and fighting and that Italian temper, we're both Italian, but on set and like working together is actually the easiest part. Like, I think we both, like any creatives, you butt heads, but when you're married to that person, or dating that person, 10 years ago, yeah, it's challenging. I'm not going to lie, but we knew the first time we did something, a small like teaser thing we did together, like 8 years ago, we realized, wow, we make a good team, because we had like a set of 20, 30 people that were friends. We pulled favors. We fed everybody. We knew like rule, 101 from our Italian moms, you got to feed people. And yeah, we just realized everyone was happy on set. We were happy on set. We really, really pulled off something epic on no budget. And that's what propelled us to want to form a production company and really keep producing stuff.
I think it's awesome that you can have a partner that you also are involved in a creative project with. My boyfriend is our producer, and like he edits our episodes and he helps us out with a lot of stuff. And of course, you're more apt to butt heads because you also live together and are together. But it's also really cool that you can share, especially something you're passionate about, like film or horror or something like that, with that person also.
Yeah, no, it is really. When something actually can get done in this town, it can be really special and rewarding. Like any hustle, it can be really stressful and hard when you're just like, pounding the pavement year after year, and, you're just on each other.
Was most of your budget catering?
Well,
probably,
but it was just like the I think there's in Strangers in the Night. Well, there's 3. It's just you two and the girl. Or no, there's one other.
Yeah,
4.
there's me, Adam, and I, and then there's like 3 other people in part of it. Little pieces, and then the girl is like another main part. And but we had like a full crew, and we even had like a COVID officer that was during COVID. So it was, I think, 14 of us total in this cabin. and for 3 days only. We shot it in 2 nights and a day, and it was stressful because we were testing, and it was our first time doing this. It was the first time we were really producing something on this level. And then there was a pandemic too. So as producers, I felt responsible in a whole nother way for like other people and health and safety, and yeah.
Yeah, but just for listeners, you can check out Strangers in the Night on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube. I think would there be a better place to point people, or is that the best place?
Well, actually, when it premiered at Screamfest here in LA, they put it on their channel on YouTube, so you can find it. If you type in Strangers in the Night Screamfest, you'll see it on their page, and that's where it has the most plays and hits.
Perfect. Yeah. And then, you both also star in the horror short Let It Kill You, which we were lucky enough to watch, but I know it's not out yet for anybody to watch. And this film, not going to spoil everything, but it involves a soldier played by your husband who uncovers someone he thinks is an enemy fighter played by you, who's been trapped inside a hidden tomb for years. But, just as the two of you start to bond, it's revealed that you are not as innocent as we think. I'll just say, what is the current status of this short? Will it be on YouTube anytime soon, or is it going to film festivals?
So it already had its year in festivals, right? Was it last year? Like a year ago? Yeah, okay. We premiered at SIF in Seattle, and so we just finished our last festival a few months ago, I think. But cool. The short actually came from a feature idea that we were shopping around developing for years, and while that was being workshopped and developed with our writer, we wrote it together, and then that's when we started our film company, actually our production company. So it's been around our whole relationship basically. And we developed this feature, had a lot of rewrites, had many table reads with friends over the years. We finally got hooked up with David Cornu, who is an amazing writer and producer and director now, and he was writing it with us and doing rewrites, and he was so brilliant at what he was doing, and Adam was still learning the ropes with writing, and he had a lit agent, so we gave him full writing credit to kind of take it over and do the rewrite, and we would be story by, and we still were very collaborative. And so he was officially the writer of this piece, for the last few years, and we were all on board as collaborators, so we really felt like it was still our voice. But David became such a great friend and collaborator and writer for us, and he directed the short, Let It Kill You. He really wanted to get in directing, so he actually directed the short and wrote the short. But it's a prequel of the feature. So we wanted to, while everything was being worked out, we wanted to be able to just make something with our fully, our big suit, our creature suit. I won't give too much away, that we had made from a few years ago. And so that's where it came about. We wanted to use the suit and make a high budget short, really epic, to kind of use as a standalone short for festivals, but also as a pitching tool for the feature.
So, I mean, it is so beautifully shot, it's just great. So well done. And like that, let's just say like the transformation scene is pretty incredible. Like, how was that filmed? Did you use practical effects, CGI, both, and did you have much experience working with effects before this? So I guess I've already kind of spoiled it on Instagram and social media, and it is a werewolf creature feature piece. People still come up to us in a grocery store if they recognize us and ask, "How's the werewolf film?" Because they know we've been working on this for so long. Okay, so it's a werewolf, everyone.
So it's a werewolf. We can say it. We can say it. But yeah, it's fully practical, and we use CGI just to fill in some holes, just to make some transitions really seamless. But yeah, that was a full suit with a stunt performer inside, and all that goo and like plasma and stuff was poured on me, and that membrane was on me. And I mean, the behind the scenes stuff we have is really cool, because I mean, that's stuff we love. So to be able to do that, like to be able to be a part of that with a professional, effects crew that we hired, like that was amazing. That felt so cool.
And where was it shot? I mean, there's like a cave, so I don't know where any caves are.
Yeah, we were in Acton. Have you ever heard of Acton? It's like
California.
Yeah, Acton, I believe it's spelled. It's like north of Santa Clarita, so it's like you're going like into the desert almost, but it's like within an hour away. So.
And you found just a cave to shoot in, or was that in a cave, or was that a set?
That was a real cave. Yeah, we actually had a location guy that found it, and it used to be a gold mine cave. Like, it used to have gold in there. It was mined, and I checked. There's no more, because I was like, oh, maybe I can pay.
Get rich out there.
I would
Maybe
be
I can
scared
pay
to
my
go into
bills.
a cave. I mean, just because there's earthquakes
Earthquakes. I was gonna say more like if there's any like bears or like a.
or that.
Yeah, I mean, they made sure it wasn't as deep.
Or that.
It wasn't as, I was thinking like bats and stuff, but it wasn't as like deep as it's really funny. It was smaller in person than it looks like on film. The way they did the camera tricks and stuff made it feel like it really went on and on. It still was pretty deep, but it was really dark once you go way into the back, and it was kind of creepy. I'm not gonna lie, but it was probably the most clean cave I've ever been in. It felt very clean.
God, I love a good clean
Oh,
cave.
me too.
Wait, so okay, you talked about a feature, and you said there's a script. So there's a full feature script that's written.
There's a full feature.
So what can you, without being too specific, like what is the story of the feature? Does it extend upon the short? Because the short is kind of a prequel.
So basically, there's a moment in the feature that is Adam and I wrote. Like I said, he wrote it, then David. When I say I wrote, we all, collaboration. But it was written to be a showcase for Adam and I as well. Adam was going to play Aiden. I was going to play Rafe, who was not in the short. And, it's been years. So we've aged. We've also, Hollywood doesn't want to cast people they don't know. And so we fought that battle. So the script is now in a place where we can still be in it. We wanted to age up the characters to make it feel really rich and grounded and not like a young 20s horror movie. We wanted it to feel really grounded and heavy. So Adam's character is the same character as in the short. And there's a flashback sequence in the feature that explores his military background. And so there's really no military in the feature. There's like a little flashback to how certain things happen to Adam's character. And that's what we explored in the prequel. So it's like when it ends, the feature kind of could pick up from there, like say 5 years later, or like, but in the States, because the short doesn't take place in the United States.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's
so it's more.
Really cool.
It's actually like a love story, horror story. The feature. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, that's great. I mean, like, I hope. I guess you're looking for a distributor or people to buy the script and so you can get it made and money. Yeah. Well, I wish you the best.
Hang on, I'm gonna call Paramount.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Let's make a few calls. Yeah, Tim and I definitely have that kind of influence. I just want to let you know.
Speed dial.
Yeah. No, that is awesome because it's really cool. It is a very. It was a really well done short. Like it was a very different take on a werewolf creature thing. Like without saying anything, it's not like Silver Bullet. Anyone? It's not like an American Werewolf in London. So
no, but that's cool. Those are huge inspirations for us too. So there are a lot of in the feature, especially there are a lot of nods to like some of our even Scream, Howling. The practical effects of Howling and American Werewolf in London. Like those are the best. And that's why we want to go for practical. Yeah.
So, moving on to some of the horror feature films you've been in. So last year you starred in That's a Wrap, which is a meta slasher in which the cast of a horror film is getting killed off during the wrap party by someone dressed as the killer from the film they just made. And you play Jamie, who's a pretty unlikable character who paid for his line in the film and basically thinks all women fuck for their parts. So I wanted to... So how did you get involved in this film and what was the audition process like for Jamie? Because I think playing unlikable characters actually probably is the most fun.
Oh, yeah, totally. And I don't agree with his, the way he feels about women. So
of course.
You cannot relate to the character of Jamie.
No, not at all.
Like, just going to put this on the record. I do not think.
I didn't like what he wore. I didn't like how he did his hair. So it wasn't like me at all. No, there actually was no audition because I didn't know anyone a part of the team. But a year prior, the director, Marcel, he reached out to me on Instagram because he saw my artwork and actually wanted my jacket in the movie he was doing before That's a Wrap. At the time, he didn't work out. So when he had reached out to me about that to wrap, it was like, hey, are you still painting and are you still acting? Because I told him I was an actor when we talked, and he kind of offered me a role, a different role actually, and also I was going to use my merch from my business in the movie as well. And then after a couple weeks, he changed his mind and offered me the role that I play currently in the movie. So there was no audition, and then just being a part of that, that's how I got to be part of like their slate of films over the last year.
That's so cool.
I have met Marcel Walls, and I wanted to know, I love him. We always talk about horror films via Instagram, and he's such a nice guy. I think we actually started talking during the pandemic. What was it like working with Marcel?
Yeah, what's he like as a director?
He's so easy and easygoing and collaborative, and he's so visual, which I love because I'm a visual person, and his love of detail and color. And like, he actually was the one behind, dressing all of us. He picked out all of our wardrobe. He was, really involved in the like costume choices and all the little pieces that were used to like.
Although you did just say you didn't like what your character.
No, I didn't. No, but it fit the character. But I would never wear that.
Yeah.
So, like he was greasy and squirmy and like.
No.
Totally. Your character's not likable.
Yeah.
His little ponytail, Anyway, but no, Marcel was just the attention to detail is what I loved about him the most, and he just is able to make something small feel really epic, and the whole team really, yeah, he's super chill, super nice.
That he seems. I mean, I don't know him as well as I know, or as well as Tim knows him, but I've met him a number of times, and he seems really easygoing and just so nice.
I've run into him, he's so nice, and I just love that. Like he loves all the same films I love, like. He likes the 80s films that I love. So
yes.
And I thought the look at the killer, who's called the Mistress, was really creepy in this film. It was like a really distinct look, which it's like, so many horror movies are known are iconic and remembered because of their villains, and that's like the biggest thing I remember with this film. And the kills were so over the top, but in like a really entertaining, like Terrifier-ish way, like in a way that you can like laugh while you're feeling uncomfortable. Do you have a favorite scene or kill in the film?
I would. Oh gosh, I'd say. Okay, so let me ask you something first. This movie's been out for a minute. This is to your audience too. How much can I spoil here, or should I not spoil?
No, spoil everything because
we're giving a warning now.
Yeah, we're gonna. So I'm just gonna. This is because I just had for my next question because I am gonna spoil the ending because I have to ask you about it. Like I just have to.
Yeah, because there's certain things that I want to say when I'm like, wait, even though we just discussed this before. It's on Tubi. People have seen it, but not a lot of people have seen it yet. I feel like more people should see it.
So this is what I will say. If you have not seen That's a Wrap.
Stop your podcast.
Yeah. Pause right now and go see it, or skip ahead like 15 minutes in this interview or something and watch it on. I think it's on Tubi. It's also on.
I love.
Do you know
Tubi.
Or what are the other?
You can probably rent it on streaming.
You can rent it on streaming. Yeah. So watch it. It's a fun slasher film. But if you don't want it to be spoiled, pause right here. That is your last warning because we're going to spoil it. I mean, anybody who listens to us knows we spoil everything. So at least there's that. But anyway, okay, go ahead now. Spoil.
All right. So I killed everybody.
Yes, yes, that's the big reveal that you're the killer. That's my next question.
And he's a werewolf.
My next question is
about
and I
that,
will. Yeah.
I actually had originally they had asked me to play the role of now the name's escaping me, the gay character that gets his throat slashed
and
or like
sprays his blood all over the room.
Yeah. So I was really excited with that because of that death scene. Like when I read that, I was like, oh my God, I get to do that with all that blood, and there's a ghost behind you. I think the door just opened.
Yeah, no, that's really funny. That's my boyfriend Jacob. We can edit this out. Jacob, wave. Now you have to.
No,
wave.
I was always funny.
So it's so funny. I was gonna ignore it, but I'm like, wait, Jake, we'll edit this out. Jacob, what are you doing?
I knew that had to be a human or like a cat.
Oh my God, that is hilarious. I don't think you can hear it because it's through our headphones, but that is okay.
You have to get the key.
No, you have to keep that in.
And there's a ghost behind you.
Yeah, no, you have to keep that in because it was so stealth.
Were you watching and you just saw the door open?
Yeah.
Sorry,
I had to
Jacob
It was
crawled in to get my car
He's
keys.
gonna slit our throats.
He's taking my car, Adam. Does your husband take your car, or do you? Just kidding.
We share. No, I've had to crawl, and he's had to crawl. In Zoom calls, it's very comical when it happens.
Okay.
So
Okay. Perfect. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go on. So you were originally going to be the character who gets his throat slit and
Yes,
sprays
yes.
the whole room.
yeah, and I was so excited for that scene. So when Marcel was like, "Hey, we actually want to," he actually saw Strangers in the Night and realized, I think you can make a good killer. And he's like, I think we want to have you as the killer in the movie. So I was really excited. There's not a lot of screen time for Jamie, right? But I was really excited to embody the killer. And I actually am in that costume the whole movie. There's no like stunt. There's no someone else. It's me. So
We were gonna ask you, did you get to do all the murdering?
You want to hear something funny, Adam? So
Yes.
we prepare all these questions beforehand because we're just not smart enough to think of them on the cuff. But we do a lot of research. No,
yourself.
because we do a lot of research because we care about we want the guests to know we've invested time in them. And we were talking about this question, and Tim was like, I don't think he was the killer. They had a stunt guy. I was like, I don't know. He's tall. He could have been it. So I thought you may have worn the costume. Tim didn't.
I didn't.
So now you said you really were the killer during the movie.
no, and I'm the reason why I'm stressing that or saying that is because that was the first time I was like fully masked up, suited up, whatever you want to say, and wigged up, and like doing all that fun stuff and like just like bringing a body language to a character like that. I mean, I grew up in the theater, right? So like I movement, I danced in college, so I really got to like bring a different energy and like creative thing to it. You know what I mean? Like you don't see my face, so even my eyeball when I'm like doing the curling iron scene, you know, they had these zoomed in on my eyeball and they were like telling me how to act with my eyeball. So like it was just really fun to do stuff when you didn't see your whole face. And I really worked hard at trying to like create a character that like an iconic feeling character, the way they move, the way they kill, and give it a little sass.
I mean, you did. Like again, I told you before we even revealed you were the killer. Like the character, the mistress was like. Again, when I remember the movie, the biggest things that jump out in my mind are the killer because it was so well done, and that guy who got his dick cut off.
Yeah. Oh my God, I have to tell you a really funny thing about that scene. So. They had that crazy prosthetic that looked so real. First of all, it was like on a plate the whole time on a table. Like it was so nauseating. And
it's huge.
When we did, it's big. And now, so because it's so big, it gets thrown at me. So they were so nervous it would hurt my face. So they literally Marcel's holding this dick, and he's like. The actor, is right. Steven is his name. He's there. I'm in a floating costume. We're about to do the scene where he throws it, and they're debating back and forth. It's gonna hit his nose. It's gonna hurt him. What if it hits his eye? What if it? And I'm like, guys, just throw it at me. I'll be fine. Like, I've been hit with worse. we had to like test throw it, to hit me in a certain place, and. So, yeah, it's just very comical, that whole setup, doing it behind the scenes.
From what I remember, there was a lot of blood in that scene. I can't believe I'm saying this. Was there blood on the dick?
Yeah, there was, because there was a slight dick print of blood on my hair. So, and that hair flip was totally improvised. So I want to credit myself with the hair flip. And Marcel was like, we're keeping the hair flip because I wanted to give these like fun little sassy things to the killer. So
I love that. Yeah. I love a good dick print of blood, don't you,
I like
Tim?
a good hair flip.
Yeah.
No, so then obviously you were happier getting that part than the part you would have played, because I would say, being a killer is fucking cool. In a movie,
yeah,
sorry.
Not
in real life.
Yeah, I don't do that ever. No, and I got to be there every day and work with all the actors. Like, and Serena Vincent was amazing to work with. So that whole, to answer your question you asked before, what was your favorite kill scene? It was that whole rain sequence. Like we had a rain machine, and getting to work with her. She was the loveliest person, and just to be like, I've never got to work in those kind of elements. So just to be in the rain in a studio. Fake blood, the prosthetic hand with Serena Vincent, who's an established actor, with
For
that
anyone who
neon.
doesn't know who Serena Vincent is, she is the gorgeous girl in Eli Roth's Cabin Fever.
Yes.
Yeah, she's beautiful, and that didn't hurt either. Just looking at her, she's so pretty. But no, with all those elements, it felt like I was in a rock music video with the neon lights, and they had all that bouncing off the water, and yeah, it was such a cool. That was our last day of filming, so we only shot in 8 days.
Oh wow!
So, yeah, I think I'm allowed to say that. Yeah, so I was there every day, and it was a hot, itchy, sweaty experience for me being in all that stuff. But
and that's not even counting all the dick stuff.
No.
Sorry, I had to throw that in. No, that's awesome. So, and moving on to Brute 1976, which that's not been officially released yet, right? Okay, so we're not going to spoil, but I am going to say we were lucky enough to attend the premiere earlier this year, Tim and I, which was a ton of fun.
Yes,
and
thank you, Marcel, for inviting us.
Yes, thank you, Marcel. And let's just say it's an homage to like those 70s middle of nowhere slasher films that have a family of psychopaths like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and The Hills Have Eyes. So I guess I kind of feel like I know the answer to this question, but since this film was also directed by Marcel and you'd already worked with him, did you have to audition or did he just pick a part for you or offer you a role or write a role for you?
I was lucky enough to be offered a role in this. I mean, I've never been offered anything in this town. So, I mean, that's a lie. And, anyway, that sounds really bad. I'm not going to continue that thought. But Marcel and Joe, Joe Knetter and Sarah French, who have the whole production team over there, with That's a Wrap and Garden of Eden was another one I was a part of, and then Brute. Those 3 movies, they just kept me along for the ride, and I'm just
That's
really
so
lucky
cool because it's like American Horror Story. It's like
yes,
a television
and I think
show.
that's
You guys all work together.
And I know Marcel loves that anthology series, so I think he likes using the same actors if he likes working with them and use them in other roles. So it's been really fun to be able to be different characters with his vision on each one.
But I think that
was really fun.
I was just going to say, but that's so cool because that means obviously you made a good impression on him. That also means that he values like loyalty and camaraderie and the same people.
You work
I think
well with others.
No, I think that's really cool that he keeps the same people, that like he meets someone he likes and he puts them in their movies. And also that means that he can, write to someone he knows because he already knows that, the people he's worked with and he knows what they can do and that kind of thing. So I think that's great.
Yeah, and they really mean what sorry to cut you off. They really, they say something and they mean it. Like, sometimes people say, oh, I wrote something for you, or I have an idea for you, and then you never hear from them again. And when we wrapped Garden of Eden, which was the second movie that we did, that's not out yet either. So hopefully that has an audience soon. I remember when I wrapped filming, they said to me, Joe said to me, like, I have a role for you. You're going to really like it. It shoots shoots after the summer. It's going to be like our wink to Texas Chainsaw, and months went by, I didn't hear anything, but then they were there. They approached me with it, and they meant what they said. So yeah, they're great people. That's
awesome, and that's rare in this town. And what was it like shooting out in the desert?
Was it hotter and itchier than That's a Wrap?
It was definitely hotter. I mean, it was all outdoors, but it was really hot. Whereas That's a Wrap, we were in like a really, I was just really steamy in that outfit.
Yeah.
So maybe it was like a tie, but it was definitely dirtier because we were in the dirt, just the dirty environment. And there were a lot of rattlesnakes actually. So every day there was like on the property that they rented, because that's like a ghost town, an actual ghost town that tourists go to, and they have weddings there. So oddly enough, like there's like chainsaw death scene in one side of the property, and on the other side there's a wedding going on at the same time.
I know where I'm getting married.
Yeah, that sounds great. So, now, do you take this person?
They have 3 weddings on one day there. Like, people want to get married in that environment, broken down cars, and sure, I guess that's.
Where is this? Is this also in California?
It's actually like 45 minutes out or outside Vegas. Yeah. It's in the desert.
There's a lot of desert out there. Yeah.
Yeah, and they, like I was saying about rattlesnakes, there was a couple times we had to pause filming, and they had to like remove a rattlesnake from the area, and my toes were exposed. I had like these sandals on the whole time, and I was very paranoid about where I was walking. And they assured us that every little crevice was checked before we were in certain areas. But there were tarantulas, and that was the creepiest part. Was just like being in an environment where like there's it's nature. So things
Not
can
the
happen.
psychopaths in the masks.
Yeah. It was the animals and the reptiles. Yeah.
And without giving too much away, let's just say you had to work around a lot of blood in this film also. So, do you, I mean, now that I know that you were the killer in the scene with all the blood and That's a Wrap, do you, as a fan of horror, do you enjoy being involved in gorier productions and scenes?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. It's so much fun to just get like, this is gonna sound horrible. Sticky and wet. Like when you give me sticky and wet, like
this is a note for
is
Jacob. Pull that quote with no context out of this interview. Adam Bucci saying sticky and wet. Go
yes,
on.
when you can be sticky and wet, it's like it's just so fun to be fully immersed in it. And I love it. Yeah.
I mean, I can't speak for Tim, but I feel like it'd be the same. Like if we were in a horror movie, I'd want to be in a really bloody, gory.
Yeah, I've always said that.
I'd want to be sticky and wet.
Yes, and like let it kill you. Like all that goo they were pouring on me, and even though and it was freezing, I was like really shivering like that. But that was so awesome that I was able to fight through the hypothermia and like enjoy like all that stuff. Like it just adds to the performance, and I love it.
And Marcel has been averaging like a new horror film every year or so, which is pretty remarkable. So do you think you'll be in, do you plan to be in any more of his films? Does he already have another project going on that you're allowed to mention, or?
I really don't know. I know they have things up their sleeve. They're constantly hustling and getting stuff made. And but when we wrapped Brute, Joe did say to me again, I have a role for you. And if you can hear this, I hope you meant it. So,
oh my God, I'm sure they will. I mean, yeah.
No, I know. I'm kidding. But that, who knows what that'll be. But I know they're thinking of me, and it's so nice to be thought about and asked back. So yeah, I hope there's something else with them in the future, because they really do like to up it each time. Like they're getting bigger budgets and bigger, sets, and it's all indie filmmaking still, but you can tell that they're elevating each one.
You can tell how much Marcel, like Tim said, loves horror.
He's so passionate about it.
You can tell how much he loves horror. Like it's a horror fan making a horror movie, which is always the best.
Yeah.
Like all of the best horror movies that like come from horror fans. Kevin Williamson writing Scream. Like it's people that love horror doing horror, not just people who are trying to collect a paycheck.
What do they say?
Exactly.
They're like a director for hire.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Like yes, as opposed to someone like resorting to it because they're like, oh, it's low budget, it'll be easy or something, versus a fan. So
and that's why in all those and that's all those behind the scenes documentaries you watched about films getting made, it's always the creatives fighting like those executives that are in the office, because we know what works, but
Yeah.
Yes,
I think
exactly.
the most famous example that I can think of offhand is Return of the Living Dead Part 2. Like, remember it was such a different tone, and like they got this guy that was kind of like, oh, sure, I'll direct it.
Yeah.
Anyways, watch the
we
documentary.
know how that went. Well, so want to shift gears now completely to your design and merchandise company, Small Town Weirdo. And for listeners who haven't heard of this company, you have to check it out. And you can check it out either at smalltownweirdo.com or on Instagram, X, TikTok, Small Town Weirdo, because these designs are awesome. I mean, like, if you're a horror lover, if you're a pop culture lover, like, they're just so well done. And I especially love the Laurie Strode one and all of the Scream artwork. And now talking to you, obviously, big surprise why there's so much Scream artwork. And your Final Girl and Final Boy shirts have been worn by so many big names in horror, including the ultimate Scream queen herself, Jamie Lee Curtis, which, like, as you can see by my shirt, Halloween is my favorite horror movie of all time. So, like, the fact that she's worn it is so cool. But before we get into that, can you take us through just how Small Town Weirdo started and what made you decide on the name?
So Small Town Weirdo was really born during COVID. I had a couple years before, Adam and I got invited to. Did you hear about those Scream tours that took place at Stu's house, like up in Santa Rosa? Have you been? Have you done that? Have you been
no,
there?
I know you can rent it also on Airbnb, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely morphed in with the owners and what they do now with the tours, but now you can, I think, sleep there and all that stuff. But we didn't sign up for the tour, but Adam's also obsessed with Scream, and we actually drove up and like did our own little tour, like on the like piggybacking off of the tour. So we were there while there was this whole thing going on, and we wound up getting a private tour from people that were living there, and we got to go and see the high school and the houses, and like, but the high school is actually a community center, which they turned into a high school. And we did our own driving to where the house locations were and the fountain. So we had this whole day of it. And then we did pay to go to the screening of Scream on the property of Stu's house, which is in the middle of nowhere.
Why have we not done that yet,
I've
Tim?
heard about, there is a guy that he takes famous locations and shows the movie there, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So it was like the second or the first or second time. I think the first time they were doing it, I can't remember. I think it was the first time they did it. And you could pay X amount of dollars to sleep there that night. Like a bunch of people were sleeping there that night as like a big party. And we didn't do that, but we did party in the house after, and it was surreal. Like we were walking through the house, just like taking pictures, like in the garage, and like, it was so cool. So I actually had made a jacket to wear for myself, to wear to the party. Like I painted Ghostface on my own denim jacket, and looking back, I hate it. Like it was not my aesthetic that I've, kind of grown to paint now, but it was like an experiment, and I just painted it on my jacket. And so I got so many compliments that I was like, oh, maybe this can be something. Maybe I should, do this sometime, So it was just a hobby. I was making them for myself, making jackets for like my mom, like stuff like that. And when COVID hit 2 years later, that's when I was like, oh, maybe I should invest in what I was doing as a hobby and just see how far I can go with this while we're sitting in our apartment. So Small Town Weirdo, the name came from just wanting to focus on horror, but not be stuck in horror, because I love quirky kind of light elements also. And I'd say Tim Burton and like Scissorhands and all those movies growing up, that's really what inspired me, like visually growing up. And I want that aesthetic. So like Beetlejuice and stuff. So I chose Weirdo because I always felt like a weirdo, like off, like an outcast, off center. But I wasn't like, then there's a small town hero element, right? Like you're thinking of the cool kid. So I just took Small Town Weirdo. It kind of became just like, built it like that.
No, it works, and it's very memorable. So I remember a couple years back seeing that photo of Jamie Lee Curtis, Andy Matichak, and Kyle Richards sporting your Final Girl shirts while filming Halloween Ends, because JLC posted about it on Instagram saying like Judy Greer had gifted those shirts to them. So I just had to ask you, how did that all go down? Like, did you know that Judy Greer had just bought these shirts and was planning on sending them to those ladies?
So a friend of mine, Monica, is friends with Judy Greer, right? So when I first was starting Small Town Weirdo, again, like really early phases, like I made a tote bag and like a Michael Myers mask shirt that said wear a mask because it was during COVID. And my friend Monica bought one, and then I didn't realize it, but she bought one for Judy Greer. And so Judy Greer secretly knew about my stuff. I didn't even know it. And so literally over that time, Judy was kind of like, she would comment and like my stuff on Instagram. And like, I had little conversations with her here and there, just being a fan of her work. I love her work. And when Halloween came around, and it was the second film they were filming, because she didn't make it past
Kills.
the second one, right?
Yeah, Halloween Kills.
The second one was over, and it was like they were filming the third one, Halloween Ends, and she wanted to gift something. She bought stuff on my site for herself, I guess, and just some fun little things. And then she saw the Final Girl shirt, and she wrote me and said, Jamie would love this. And I said, Jamie, like Jamie Lee? And she's like, yeah. And I said, I will give you whatever you need. Like, please, like, I'll give you a bunch. You guys can wear them. Again, I didn't push it. I didn't say, when will you wear it? Can she post? Like, she was actually filming in Louisiana, Judy, at the time. So I sent what she ordered and also a bunch of shirts, the Final Girl shirts, to her to set where she was in Louisiana. She gave me her address. She was so sweet. And that was it. That's all I knew. And that was like in December. And then in January, my husband Adam woke me up and said, Jamie Lee's wearing your shirt on Instagram. Like it was just like Christmas morning all over. It was so cool and so surreal.
I was just about to ask you, was that like the turning point when Jamie Lee Curtis posted on her Instagram?
That's what really propelled Small Town Weirdo into branching into more like merch, like t-shirts and all the little smaller things that I have in my shop. Because I was doing these elaborate jackets, and it started to get eyes on them. Like Melissa Barrera and Jack Quaid wore one, and Matt Bomer, and that started like really started like the company in a way. Like that was what forced me to form an LLC and like just start this as a business. But when Jamie Lee wore that shirt a year later, that was like a whole nother level of like getting recognized as a brand in a way. Like, so when I started doing a convention, because I've only done a few now, that's when people were like, oh, you made that shirt for Jamie Lee, because they all saw that shirt. And it kind of, even though I didn't make up the trope, like that trope's been around, I think it was the 90s in New York, a New York Times or something, someone coined the phrase, and it kind of has been around since then. But Jamie Lee didn't even know what Final Girl was really until later in her career. And it amazed me that she had never worn a Final Girl shirt until 40 years later. I mean, that blew my mind. There's an interview with right before she got the shirt where she says she didn't even know what it was. Like, and then, you know, fast forward a few months, she's wearing it and it was my design. It was really nuts that
I can't even imagine.
I don't even know how that happened. And this, you know, it's right here.
Yeah, no, I can't even imagine, because, you know, growing up, Halloween, like if you talk about the first horror movie that had an impact on me, it was Halloween. So I've been obsessed with like Halloween and the franchise since I was a kid. And like, so Jamie Lee Curtis to like wear your brand and kind of like, it's like almost giving it like the thumbs up. That is just incredible.
It was so cool. And I was lucky enough to talk with her and chat with her a couple times, and you know, via Instagram. And then I got to work on the campaign for Halloween Ends, because the whole Final Girl thing took off while they were filming. And, you know, literally it was 2 weeks before the premiere of Halloween Ends, and Universal teamed up with me and we did a bunch of shirts for their campaign. And I got to go to the premiere and wear it on the red carpet and see Jamie. Like, it just was surreal. It was like the Oscars for horror nerds, like that moment.
Yeah, Kyle Richards.
It was crazy.
Well,
yeah, and she ran into me at Universal. I don't know how much time we have, but you can edit this all out.
No, please. This is the stuff we love to hear, especially about the Halloween girls. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm always trying to, I still am trying to figure out, how can I build this company? How can I reach out to more people? Like, what's next? Like, it's very stressful knowing where to take it when you don't know where it's going. You know, it's like acting. You don't know what's going to happen. So,
or like doing a podcast.
Yeah, it's all anything creative. You just don't know like how you're going to find eyes and ears. So a friend of mine who works in PR, she was like, you really need to go to, this was after Jamie Lee wore the shirt. So it was that year, but now we're getting into Halloween season. And she's like, you really need to, if you want to meet the people behind Halloween, because it was September now and the movie came out in October, she's like, you got to get to Universal Horror Nights press night and just go and see if you can meet people, because there's a lot of people there that are in the industry, and you know, you're not an influencer, but there's a lot of people there like that, and you just never know. So I like showed up to American Horror Stories, Universal Studios. I'm out of my mind. And you know, I couldn't get on the red carpet. You know, no one knew who I was as an actor or an artist. Like, no one's going to let me on the carpet, because I was trying to get exposure with my brand, right? So that was a fail. So we're just walking around the park, and I hear a voice, because I wore my Final Boy shirt, the black one. And it was dark. It was like 9 o'clock at night, but there were lights because we were in Harry Potter world or whatever. And I hear a voice saying, oh, I should have worn my Final Girl shirt. And I turn around, because, you know, they were going around. I was getting a lot of sales on my website. So I thought it was a customer that like recognized my design. And it was Kyle Richards. And she was like, I was like, oh my God, I made your shirt. And she's like, oh my God, you did? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, can we take a picture? So we took a picture, and that was really cool. So that night was worth it, because I got to meet her and talk about the shirt. And she's like, I love it. And then she went up wearing it on the Housewives finale or the premiere that season.
Yeah.
And so like she loved her shirt. She wore it over and over. So that was cool. So that propelled everything. That next night, I emailed someone from Universal and was like, I didn't get to meet you last night, but I made those shirts. Would love to collaborate with you guys on something in the future. Had no idea they would offer Halloween being so close to the premiere date. So it happened so fast.
And that's what I think is so real cool, because you've you've helped with that. I had read the horror campaigns, marketing campaigns for Halloween Ends and Violent Night, and we were looking through your Instagram. It looks like you just recently worked on stuff for The Strangers Chapter 1. And so when it comes to working on horror campaigns like that, do the studios just ask to incorporate your artwork into their marketing, or do they ask you for custom designs? How does that work?
I don't know. So no, okay. So with Halloween, it was a thing where it was an existing design, and they literally wanted to use it for their influencer marketing campaign. And then they really used the final girl. Again, I don't know how much influence I had on it, but it definitely helped them use that final girl phrase in their marketing. I don't really know where it starts and stops with my influence, but it was just so cool to be a part of it. Then Violent Night was just they loved working with me, so they brought me on right away to Violent Night. That was right after Halloween, and it was a custom design for their movie, for T-shirts. And then, that was a couple years already, right? So just a couple months ago, I was like, gosh, I would love to do a campaign again, because there's no acting work right now. Small Town Weirdo business was really slow after New Year's, after January, anything, it just gets really slow. And I was in a slump. I really was. I had nothing coming in, nothing going on, and no more jackets to paint. I had no commissions. And I was just racking my brain, how can I get in with some other production? Because they're not knocking down my door. No one is. And so I just used good old social media to connect some dots and put my thinking cap on and reach out to people I knew that were somehow connected. And yeah, I mean, long story short, it was just connecting some dots and getting to meet some people and showing face. And it happened very, very quickly. Once I was put it out there, I'm going to meet someone at Lionsgate. It actually was for a different film. Boy Kills World, the trailer came out, and I was like, that looks so badass. That looks kind of my Final Boy design. It's about a boy that takes, vengeance, and that could be a really cool collaboration. So I actually wanted to reach out to them about that movie. And it was when I reached out about that movie that the trailer dropped for Strangers. And that was kind of in my mind too, but I didn't even think about that. And they offered Strangers to me.
Wow.
So that it was I was going in a different way. And they were like, how about Strangers, which was an even bigger campaign. And was so honored to be a part of that. So I did 5 custom jackets for them. And I pitched the Final Girl shirt again, but in a different way to make it a specific to the Strangers, because the Final Girl design became so popular. I was like, listen, a lot of people love these shirts and these designs. I think it'd be cool to kind of make a little twist on it, change the color, add some Strangers elements. And they loved that idea and went with it. So I did a design for the influencers marketing with the shirts. And then I did custom jackets for the actor and actress and director and producer.
And they're so cool. We saw all the pictures, and it looked like, I think you were at the premiere of The Strangers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be Strangers Part 2 and 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually good that you jumped on the Strangers train, I guess, because there's a 2 and 3 already coming.
Yeah, so I don't know what will happen as far as my involvement, but after the job was done, it definitely was said and said from them and me, let's all try to keep working with each other. You never know. So I'm still recovering from what I just did with them, because it was a lot of work in a very, very, very small period of time. And I'm grateful to my husband, who let me literally just sit there and paint. I clocked it 250 hours of painting in 3 weeks.
Wow.
And he cooked, cleaned, walked the dog. I did not move. And when the premiere happened on, I think May 8th was the premiere. A few days later, I got the flu so bad.
Yeah.
My body was like, fuck you, you're dying now. This is you put yourself in the ground. So I really ran myself into the ground. So I'm better now, but I really was painting to the bitter end there. So yeah. But I'm fine.
Well, I was just about to ask you what's next for your company, but it sounds like you might need a break.
Yeah, well, I mean, we wanted to know, is there any other types of merchandise or things you're looking to break into, or more marketing campaigns, or what's next other than resting?
Well, I know I need rest, but I also need to work, and that's the crazy thing about this industry and any creative way you go. Is like you need to keep hustling, you need to keep going. So we have a few films that we're producing that we're trying to get up and running. One being Let It Kill You, the feature. One's a rom-com that Adam wrote, and another horror film that Adam wrote. And then I just did Monsterpalooza, which was a last-minute thing this past weekend. So I'm literally recovering from that today, which was an amazing convention. And then, but I'm going to put this out there in the universe so you guys can let all your people hear it. But I really want to get onto the Beetlejuice campaign. Like that would be so cool. That is like my number one inspiration, aesthetic, Tim Burton. I would love to somehow do custom pieces for that in some way, or a shirt. So I'm putting that out there.
Well, let me just say this. Like, first off, when you said about the Tim Burton stuff and like Beetlejuice, I was like, oh my God, Beetlejuice is coming out. He's got to be involved. First off, like, I know Melissa Barrera has, worn your jackets and you've taken pictures with her. She, I know, is close with Jenna Ortega, who's in Beetlejuice. So maybe there can be some sort of connection there. I'm serious. Like, I mean, if Melissa Barrera lets Jenna Ortega know, she's going to be involved in a ton of marketing for that. That could be an avenue. You never know.
Honestly, I didn't even think of that. I will say this, Melissa. I just saw her the other day at the convention, and I gave her like a Pride Final Girl shirt because she has my other one, and gave her a hug real quick. Her line was insane. I mean, the people that were there for her, it was amazing. I've said this to her. I've said it to Jack Quaid too, because he's been such a supporter of my art. And he came to an exhibit of mine in the fall. Like the actor in me and like the peer in the industry in me doesn't ever want to push and doesn't want to like come across like forceful in any way, or like, you know what I mean? So they've been so sweet in supporting my art. And I always tell them like, I hope you don't mind that I'm tagging you in this. And like, I hope you don't think I'm like this crazy fanboy, even though I'm a fan of theirs. I want it to feel sincere and organic. So like, that's why I didn't even think about that with Melissa, because I would never want to like intrude and like on her relationship with Jenna. But that's a really good idea, and maybe there's a way to like
it just has to happen organically.
Well, but I mean, like, but sometimes you have to do so let me just I'll give you a quick story with us, because like I totally, like, so much of what you're saying I can empathize with, because
I'm very timid.
we're a podcast who we've interviewed now like 90 different horror stars, which is really awesome. But at the same time, it hasn't been easy. Like it's tough to, we really we try to reach out to people, and sometimes like we've been very lucky. We've had people like Kevin Williamson on the show. We've had like Adrian Steele. Adrian Steele. Oh my God, I just combined Adrian King and Amy Steele. If they had a baby, it would be Adrian Steele. We've had Adrian King and Amy Steele. We had Jerry O'Connell. We've had some big names, but like it's like you saying, like it's not like nobody's knocking down our door.
They're like, oh my God.
But at the same time, like we try to really like nurture relationships, and just like, I feel like when you support and are nice with people, people will be nice and supportive with you. And also like sometimes like we have had to like ask someone like, oh, would you be willing to connect us with this person? And, if someone truly cares, like I feel like they would. And especially like in an industry like Hollywood and entertainment and stuff, like sometimes you do need those little pushes. Like, so I totally get that, because we have the exact same types of things that we go through with our podcast.
Speaking of like Small World. Go ahead.
No, I think if I wasn't in the acting world for the last 15 years, I probably wouldn't be so sensitive to it. Like, but I'm so conscious of that type of person that wants to use someone's name and get in there. Like my husband and I, we're so not like that. And we pride ourselves on that because there's not a lot of that in this town. So yeah, like, but with the art, I've learned a lot, because by creating something and it's like separate from you, like you're not selling your face as an actor, but you're like kind of promoting something separate. I've had a much easier time asking for things and like being proud of what I create, and being not like conceited about it, but like just proud of it, versus like I can never like about, say, for Brute or some movie I did, I can never sit there and be like, look at me, did you see me in that movie? Like I could never do that. But it feels really good about like, I don't even do that with my art, but it feels separate enough that I can like promote it and it doesn't feel gross. Like I'm like bragging or something like that.
First off, you should be proud of your art because your art's amazing. It really
Thank
is.
you, thank
And
you,
like
thank you.
but I get it. It's tough because you don't want to be the pushy, needy person. Like it's been a fine line for us. Like there have been interviews that it's taken a long time to score. We're like, do we follow up? I don't want to be annoying. I don't want to do that. But
for me, it's always been like I don't want to overstep anything.
But on the flip side, like sometimes you have to take those chances. You know, like
no, I know. And if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have gotten the Halloween campaign. I wouldn't have gotten the strangers. I wouldn't have, because I put myself out there to meet people and ask. And that I'm learning from that now, but back to the acting. It's so like you have to ask for things. And if you're coming across nice and sincere, then they don't see it, then fuck them. Like that, like you're you know what I mean? Like you're being your authentic self. And if they don't appreciate that, then I guess it's not meant to be. But and one more quick story is I think you'll appreciate it. Unless you want to keep talking, that's fine.
No, please.
So just because I know you love Jamie Lee and Halloween. So Jamie Lee, that was the thing too. I was so scared that all that tagging and putting your picture up, because that really helped me. Like I was using someone else to like propel, you know what I mean? Like that felt so icky and gross, but it was so cool. So
but she started it.
No, I know. So I was like, okay, she kind of approved it by like wearing it, and like she wore it again for an interview, and then she tore it up and wore it again in a post, and like I was like, okay, she likes the shirt. So, but you know, there was a lot of months that went by between her wearing it and the actual movie premiere, and there was a lot of tagging, and she actually followed me, so I saw that she saw every post, like I could see that she saw it. So I was like, oh my god, she sees all this stuff and she's not writing me, so maybe she's just annoyed. Like I was really, you know, I was just worried. I didn't want to annoy anybody. So, you know, fast forward, you know, this was recent actually, last year. I invited her to an exhibit that I did in October, a horror themed exhibit where I was honoring pieces from Psycho and Halloween. And I was like, I'm just going to invite Jamie Lee. Like, you never know. So I invited her on Instagram, sent this whole thing. And then I was eating breakfast with my husband in pajamas, you know, like Sunday morning, Saturday morning. And I see the little dots, like she's responding right away, like right away. And I was like, I grabbed my husband, like, holy shit, she's going to write it back. I didn't know what she was going to say. And it wasn't about the exhibit at all. But she said, I need a Final Girl shirt in ASAP in black medium, like ASAP, she wrote in caps. And I lost my mind. Like I was like, I felt like,
you're like, that'll be $29.95, Jamie.
No, she offered to pay, and I said no. I'm not letting you. And so it wasn't like she expected a freebie. I was like, no, I'm giving you one. You've been amazing. But she's like, I need one ASAP, and she said that twice. And I was like, what is this for? Like, what does she need this for? So I felt like Anne Hathaway in Devil Wears Prada. I felt like this crazy assistant that had to like drop everything, and like I literally got ready in like 5 minutes, like I was doing an audition. Like I literally did my hair, did my clothes. I got ready, looked like a real person, and like grabbed 3 or 4 different shirts, different sizes, because she didn't tell me what fit she wanted, and I have different fits, and I didn't want to annoy her. So I pulled every option that I could imagine and packaged it, wrote a note, like, and then she gave me her address. I won't repeat it on here, but I just started driving to her address because she wasn't responding after that. I couldn't get a hold of her. So I just started driving to where she lives.
And then you were a stranger knocking on the door.
Yeah, so
you said it's literally home? No.
Right. That's what all connects. So literally halfway to her house, she responds and she's like, no, don't come by, because I said I'm coming by in person. And she's like, don't come. You can mail it. And I was like, I'm halfway there. I'll just run to the post office. And she realized it was like a lot of trouble. She's like, I didn't mean for this to be trouble for you. Just throw it over the fence, because I'm not in the house right now. So I literally drove to her house and like tossed the package over her fence. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll go back home now and put on pajamas. It was the craziest morning.
Wait, so did you ever find out what she needed it for?
Yeah, so it was a great cause. She was donating all of her Halloween merch to the LA Children's Hospital.
Yeah, she does a lot of that.
I found out that later, which was amazing. Like she put it on her site and she credited me. And so whether it was for her or for a good cause, I was honored to be asked. But it was just so cool that months and months and months, a year after, years went by since the premiere, she still wanted a shirt for something. And all that paranoia went away of me thinking I, scared her. You just don't know. So
of course, I mean, I can't even tell you. We go through the same thing. It's like if we're asking someone for an interview and they accept, we're like, oh my God, do we have to give them a?
We hop in the car.
We drive to their house, and we sit outside their window.
Yeah, with microphones. When are they going to say something?
We're always like,
I mean, I literally felt like Michael Myers approaching her house. I mean, she has beautiful property, but there's security cameras everywhere. Like,
did you wave?
Hey, Jamie.
Well, I definitely look shady. Like if someone was watching the footage, I definitely because there are multiple gates. I wanted to make sure I knew which gate because she wrote me and I was like looking at my phone. I'm like looking at I'm looking at the cameras. Like I look so creepy and shady in this town. I'm in this neighborhood.
And then you start throwing something.
And then I have this like packaged ball of shirt. Like I was just like, boop. And then
I would have loved if after you did it, you're like, hey, just dropped out the package. So what about that exhibit I invited you to?
Oh my God.
What if you were like, you didn't? What if you're like, Jamie, that's not what I asked you, actually. So we're going to have to deal with this later.
Speaking of like a small world,
I couldn't say that.
Just because I was sitting here thinking, is Monica, did she do the costume for the Christina Applegate show Dead to Me? Just
Monica?
Curious. The one that
who?
That gave the T-shirt to Judy Greer.
My friend Monica. No, she's an actress as well. And
okay. Never mind.
I was like, Monica from Friends?
Monica, was it Courtney Cox?
Yeah. Wait, there's a Courtney connection? Oh my God, I love her.
I know, but I can feel, we can empathize, I guess, especially like in the horror world and stuff, very different, but like.
Oh, by the way, I need to know this before we're just about to wrap up, but I wanted to ask you, did any of the Friday 13th girls wear the Final Girl t-shirt? Because Matt loves Halloween, but I love Friday 13th, but have any of the girls reached out to you?
Actually, this weekend, then the main Adrian
King,
she had the Final Girl shirt, and so she a couple years when the whole thing happened after Jamie Lee wore it, it was like my mission, and it still is, to get one on every Final Girl, every Final Boy, Final Queer, whoever. Like, just I feel like it's my mission now with my company to like get my stamp on everybody, and it feels so rewarding when I do, and just this weekend at Monsterpalooza, I met a woman came up to my booth. She goes, "I'm a Final Girl," and I said, "Oh, you are?" Like, and she's like, "Yeah, I sent Jason to hell," and I said, "You did?" And like everything clicked, and I started Googling. It was Carrie Keegan, and
from the Final Friday, Jason Goes Down.
Yeah, so she bought a shirt. We took a picture, and I just posted it actually on Instagram this morning or yesterday. So she just got one yesterday.
Oh, nice.
Oh my God. Oh, like Tim loves Friday the 13th. And I mean, we've definitely talked to more Final Girls from Friday the 13th than Halloween. I'll say that.
Because Friday the 13th is a far superior series.
Not exactly. But because Jamie Lee Curtis is the Final Girl most of Halloween. And, we're not quite at the level to interview Jamie Lee yet. But I think that's so cool. Like, especially now that people are like, more people are seeing it, you're probably going to get more and more and more people that are going to just want to have these shirts, the Final Girl Boy Queer Society.
I hope so. I mean, like I said, like I'm not copywriting, trademarking those tropes because they exist, but I'm hoping my design and me behind it is what people want to support. And because there are other people out there that are doing similar things. And I'm just really grateful that mine kind of found a way in. So.
How does that work? Because, Janice Dickinson called herself the surf. She called herself the first proclaimed supermodel. Yeah. So like Final Girl, there are people coming after you like, hey, I said Final Girl first.
No one's saying that. I just know it's been out there as a trope, as a word, as a phrase, before I was in middle school, like I think the 90s is what I remember reading. There was an article where someone coined that phrase. Just like brought, about Jamie Lee. So I'm not looking to like take, you know what I mean? Like I just wanted to do from going to these elaborate jackets, I literally was like, I want to do a really simple design digitally because I'm new to the digital world too. Like I'm learning more and more on Procreate. And I wanted to do a simple dessert. I'm hungry. I want to do a simple dessert too. I want a simple dessert. I love dessert. That's my weakness. So I wanted to do a simple design that I could just screen print on a shirt and just get out there, and like it wouldn't be as hard as the 40 hours painting a jacket. I just wanted to get something else out there in my shop, and who knew Jamie Lee would be the first one to wear it. So
that's the best.
I mean,
congratulations.
again, I can't promise you Jamie Lee level people, but if any final girl, final boys we have on the show, we would definitely have no problem pointing them your way, because like,
thank you. And I'd be happy to give them one. And there are a few out there that have them that no one knows about yet. Like Nev Campbell has a shirt.
Oh, that's amazing.
I can't go into the specifics just for certain reasons, how she got it and why, but I will say she recently got one, and I like I said, it could be like a Jamie Lee thing where my husband wakes me up and is like, Nev Campbell's wearing your shirt. Like I have no idea if she'll wear it, if she will promote it, but it's just an honor that she has it and liked it. So
I'm sure she will.
Get
especially
ready to be on those ring
especially
cameras.
Coming into Scream 7, like that. Why not? So we have one final question for you, and like this, it's a little different because we've talked so much about your brand versus like movies specifically, but we ask this to every single person we interview. So we're going to ask it to you. What is one thing you can tell us about your experience working on either your horror films or something related to Small Town Weirdo that you've never told any other interviewer, publication, podcaster, person who's coming to your booth at Monsterpalooza? Just something about, and it's funny because you just told us that Jamie Lee Curtis story, and I feel like that pretty much is that thing. But,
yeah, that's a good one.
But like maybe something about the horror films you worked on, or something related to your company that you've never told anyone who's asked you about.
Not even your husband.
Well, I mean,
that's tough.
Just kidding.
That may be a little tough.
He is in the other room prepping something. So I'm like, he's going to be like, what did you say?
A simple dessert. That's what he's prepping.
Yes. God, that's hard. This day and age with social media, I feel like everyone knows everything as you're doing it. I will say, like, only one or two people knew that Nev Campbell has a shirt. So, like, I haven't really announced that. And that's nothing crazy. It's just really fun to know she has it. Yeah. But, yeah, it's like those little behind the scenes stories like Jamie Lee and what the behind the scenes, what you do to just get something done. Gosh, I'm not that exciting. I don't know. I feel like I told
don't worry about it.
No,
it's
you've told us so many, even for how long it took you to do the strangers stuff and getting the flu and stuff like that. And it's funny, a lot of times these organically come out in interviews. So like if there's
you already
nothing
said
on
like 5 things, so you're good.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, you have enough. I probably talked your heads off because I'm on so much coffee right now because I am so tired from the convention. So if you're going through this and you're like, he is speaking over his words, he's tongue-tied, like I'm on no sleep. So thank you for having me. And
we do it. Matt's here.
Not at all. Yeah, if you heard me, I could talk nonstop for hours. No, it has been such a pleasure chatting with you, Adam. Like I'm so glad that we've gotten a chance to meet you now. And we go to a lot of these conventions, so now we can like come up to you at your booth and say hi and like know who you are.
No, thank you. And I will say, like, again, even though people from the outside will come to me and say, oh my God, you're killing it. You got your shirt on Jamie Lee. You got your jacket on this person. Like, just to all the artists out there, like, it is a day-to-day struggle to just feel like you're getting something done. And it really takes the people that like what you're doing to get you to the next point. So, like, people at the convention yesterday were saying, oh my God, you're going to be here now at the convention all the time. Like, I don't know if they even know, will remember I was here next year. Like it takes the people to like put it out there that they like what you're doing. And so I'm just so appreciative of people that repost my art and like tag me and things and wear my shirt and tag me. That is what gets me to the next level.
That's good to know. I mean, like, so now that since we're all wrapped up, where can people reach you?
Yeah, tell us all that. I mean, I know we had said smalltownweirdo.com and you're on Instagram. Are you on Twitter?
Yeah, I'm on X, as they call it now.
X.
But I will say Instagram has been like the blessing and the curse of it all. I'm on my phone way too much, but it's helped me connect to so many people. And even LinkedIn lately, which I knew nothing about because it was just like I had a profile. That's helped me connect to people more in like the executive world, like these studios that the campaign. So it's just, you never know where people are going to see stuff. So
yeah. Well, that's great. Well, well, thank you so much. Seriously, it's been such a pleasure talking with you. It just feels like we're talking with like our people, you know, like talking with you. Like, and this has been so great. We really had a lot of fun talking with you, and we to wish you nothing but the most success. Seriously, like we'll do anything we can to help, and we think you're killing it. No pun intended, actually pun intended. So,
He's not.
I'm a big fan of you guys. I'm a big fan of you guys, and I'm honored to be on the show. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for saying that. Well, okay, we'll take care, and we will definitely be in touch, okay?
Great. Have a good night, guys.
Okay, bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Happy Horror Time.
If you'd like to support the podcast, please sign up to be a patron at www.patreon.com/happyhorrortime. As a patron, you get access to all our bonus content, which now includes 2 new bonus episodes every month, a monthly after show mini episode, access to our Discord community so you can chat with us directly, and the chance to review a film with us in one of our bonus episodes.
Patrons also get all our regular episodes ad-free and a day early, our monthly newsletter, the chance to vote in polls, and autographed Happy Horror Time stickers.
I'm Matt Emmert.
And I'm Tim Murdoch.
And we hope you have a happy horror time.